Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So on this channel I'm going to focus on air compressors, anything from a small hobby all the way up to screw compressors whenever I've got the opportunity to record and film, and just give you guys a bit more insight and try and help you. I mean, if you can keep shifting in your hand and know what size spanner to use for what size nut, then I'm pretty sure anyone can do this. It's not too complicated when it comes to air compressors, so just going to try and help you guys out a bit. So today I'm working on a McAfric 2 horsepower 50 liter twin pump oil free silent compressor. So what makes these quite unique is the noise reduction on them, and also the maintenance side of it. Because it's oil free, we don't have to do oil services on them. Yes, we do need to still check the pumps every now and again, replace the seals on the small pistons. Yeah, I don't actually think one can call whatever is in that pump a piston. Looks like a flying saucer with a O-ring on the one side or around it. But yeah, so it's a bit better on the maintenance side of everything, and then definitely much more quiet. This buggy has got 2 pumps on it. You can find similarities between the pumps on here and the ones that they use in the 4x4 world. Basically the same principle, but to fill this 50 liter a bit quicker, and not to overwork the pump, they decided to put 2 pumps on here, which is great. So the problem we have here today, client phoned me and said, listen here, I switch on the compressor, it runs, it falls up to the 8 bars, it takes a bit longer than usual, but it gets to 8 bars, switches off, but then he's got an air leak, and his air leak is coming out over here. And I don't know if you know this little item here, that's a solenoid, so that opens and closes this line here for about 2 seconds. It opens, other than that it normally stays closed. Yeah, it's a normally closed valve. This one's job over here is just when the compressor has got to its 8 bars, it's filled up, this buggy here just makes sure that whatever pressure is left in that hose between the pump and the tank, this just drains that bit of air stuck in there. So when the compressor does need to start up again, we don't have back pressure on the pump, which puts strain on your electrical motor or your pump itself. So yeah, that's the job of this little valve over here. But our issue isn't on this valve today. Yeah, and sorry about my fingers being so dirty. I also drained the tank for the client because it was full of water, and there was more muck in the water than anything else. So my hands and my face is completely dirty, because it did surprise me quite badly in the face. But then again, getting back to it, the problem here is our non-return valve. I loosened the back nut over here just to drain the air pressure a bit quicker. And the reason I know it is the non-return valve is, quite frankly, because once the compressor is switched off, it reached its pressure, the air keeps draining, and it drains and drains and drains. It's not a matter of a 2-second drain and it's done. If it was a 2-second drain, that would have meant, okay, this is working and it's just getting rid of the pressure still in that line. And now the problem is it's draining, and it's draining all of the pressure, all of the air left in the tank. So it's running continuously, draining out of this side here. That tells me that the non-return valve over here has failed. I'll open it now and I'll show you. Behind this back nut here we've got a spring, and in front of the spring we've got a little seal that seats on top of a bed in the front of the non-return valve, and that stops any back pressure or any air that's built up in your tank from coming back into your line. And that unfortunately at the moment is not happening. That's also why the compressor is taking longer to build up pressure, is because the pump is working against the pressure in the tank, because the non-return valve is not doing its job. So whatever pressure it's trying to push into the tank is also working against the pressure that's already in the tank. That's the main purpose of the non-return valve. So I'm going to open it quickly and I'm going to give you a look at what's inside that non-return there. Like I said before, I have opened it just before I started recording. So what we've got here is a seal. We've got this rubber seal over here, got the spring and the back nut. So what I tend to just do every now and again is just feel the tension on the spring if it hasn't worked out. Remember, more tension on the spring just means it's gonna seal much easier, but you also don't want too much pressure on this spring over here, because that will most probably, depending on the strength of your pump, also cause an issue with the delivery into the tank. So this one's tension is quite nice, just not liking the angle of it. But then again, once it tries to seat on the bed on the inside of the non-return, it's gonna push itself straight and it should seal. The reason I'm thinking it's not sealing 100% at the moment is there might be a small imperfection on the seat over here. I just want to give you a look at what's going on the inside of the non-return, so you get an idea of where that seal needs to sit. Oh, just need to adjust the camera here quickly. So yeah, not really getting a perfect picture, but that gives you an idea. On the inside over here, if you look at that small ring on the inside, that's where the rubber seats on, and that's basically where your seal happens. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give that, I can see some small imperfections on it, so I'm going to give that a clean. I'm going to make sure that my seal is 100% clean and there's no imperfections on it. Double check the tension on the spring, and I'm going to put it back, and we're going to see if that solved the issue. Okay, so what I've done now is I cleaned out, you can clearly see it from here, I've cleaned out the bed over there. My seal, I just want to try and get some focus on here. My seal, I went ahead and I've sanded it down quite straight on a flat surface, so it's clean all the way around. Now, because I've taken away a bit here on the front side of it, and I don't want to try and pull on the spring itself, because most spring wire is memory spring, it's just going to end up going back to the same tension, so it's not going to help the purpose of it. So what I've done is I've just created a small little space at the back here. I'm going to put that in there, and that is going to give me the tension I want. So there is a much easier way of going ahead fixing this problem, is just by replacing the non-return valve, and that is gonna cost you more, most definitely. They aren't expensive, but they also aren't cheap, because they tend to go very quickly, these small Chinese. Don't know, I don't even think it's really a brass non-return, they say, and they brand it as a brass non-return, but to me it looks more like a pewter mixture of brass and I don't know what other metals. So they tend to either get to the point where they're so brittle they crack and they leak, and you struggle, you're behind off trying to get the non-return valve out of the tank, or they crack you on the back and you also need to replace the whole thing. So when it comes to issues like this, I really don't want to go and replace the non-return valve for the client, because it's going to cost him more money, and at the end of the day I'm going to replace it, and it might not be too long before he comes back to me and says, listen, yeah, the non-return valve that you replaced and that you installed on my unit is broken again. And that unfortunately is because of the quality of these non-return valves that they import into South Africa. So I just do a fix like this, saving the client some money, and it works. And once it does break and it does collapse, the client comes back to me and he says, listen, yeah, it's failed again. Then I go and buy a new non-return valve, and I explain this to the client, and I go and buy a new non-return valve and I install it for the client, and then I just charge him for the parts, not the labor, because the labor has been done here, and if it fails again, then it's on me and I need to just charge the client for the parts. So yeah, it's just about saving the client some money and frustration, and myself as well. So I'm going to put it back and let's see what it does. Also, what you want to do is make sure whenever you do put back this bug over here, is to make sure that you get that seal quite center. You want it to basically lie in the middle, because if you do put tension on it and it's going to be off center, you might have the same issue with the non-return, but not because of a faulty non-return, just pure bad workmanship. So what I'll do now is I'll connect this up, I'll loosen it from the front, the non-return valve here, I'll loosen it from the front, and I'm just going to test the non-return valve from the front to make sure that it's opening and closing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open it from the front over here, and yeah, also be very careful when working on these non-return valves. As I explained before, they do get hot and they start to get very brittle. So if you feel that the pipe or whatever you're trying to remove or install on one of these is putting a bit too much tension on the thread, rather stop, because it's probably going to break and you're going to struggle to get the thread out of the tank. So just a little piece of advice. So what I want to do now is I just want to feel that's opening and closing beautifully. I mean, I can push it. Okay, so I'm going to connect it back up and start it, and we'll see what she does. Hopefully, holding thumbs, that was the solution to our problem. If not, then unfortunately I'm going to have to replace the non-return valve with a new one, and the client will not be very happy, because I already advised him that it will probably only be a labor a labor exercise, so holding thumbs. Okay, that's all tightened. All my connections are done, so I'm going to start it up quickly and yeah, let's see. Also, just want to show you how quickly this little bugger builds up pressure. I have worked on this left hand side pump before. This pump over here had a balance issue on the one crank, and that also caused the bearing to collapse on the main crank, and I had to replace that, but that's all sorted, running beautifully. I'm just going to stop it quickly and just see if it's still leaking air. That way we don't have to drain all of the air again. Well, if that isn't good news, then I don't know what is. So yeah, it's completely quiet, not leaking a bit of air. So I'm going to let it run up to 8 bars now, get it to pressure, and then see again. Okay, it's about to reach 8 bars. So once it gets to 8 bars, it's going to shut off. There we go. And yeah, of course, that little bit of air when it switches off, that air that you do hear escaping there, that is the 2 solenoid valves, one hidden over there behind that pump. That is the solenoid valves doing its work. So like I said, when that light is on, you saw the light over there, that means that it's closed, normally closed. So it's closing that little pipe there, the outlet. And yeah, once the compressor reached its 8 bar, the pressure switch, which gives power to these 2 solenoids, tells it, okay, it's reached the 8 bars, I'm switching off the power now. So once that happens, doop, it releases that bit of air, and it stays open now because the compressor isn't running. So it's open now, but because the non-return valves are doing its job, there's no other air left to come out. So I hope that makes sense. Glad that this one's sorted. Guys, I'm going to put up a few more videos as time goes on, as I get compressors in, as I get time. That's the biggest issue, running in between things. But yeah, if you have any questions, any advice you need on compressors, anything, you can just drop a comment at the bottom and I'll try and respond to everything as soon as possible. Also, give this page a like, give me a follow, and we'll see if we can try and help everyone out. Thanks.